You're live whenever you're ready.
Okay. Sorry, I'm struggling with my technology, but I'm getting there. Okay. So I will call to order the meeting of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board of Trustees. Today is October 6th, 2021. The board did meet in closed session this evening and took no reportable action in closed session. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Superintendent Geisels, do we have any changes to this evening's agenda?
No, we do not, President Zurich.
Would someone like to move approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now we have the opportunity for public comment. This is the opportunity for anyone who would like to make comments to the board to do so. I know I have at least one yellow card for this evening. This is on anything that's not on this evening's agenda. If you want to talk about anything that on an agenda item, we ask you to wait till that agenda item. We limit comments to 3 minutes, and if for some reason we have more than 30 minutes of comments, both in person or remotely, we will do the rest of them at the end of the meeting. So, Mike, are you Michael Cook? So if you'd like to go ahead to the lectern, that'd be wonderful. Make sure the red light's on, please. And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. First of all, I have prepared comments, so I guess I give them to someone at the end of the comment. To Lupita? Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I really do appreciate all you do for the district and recognize the importance of your work to the community. I cannot think of a more difficult time to be a leader for the children of the community than now. I come to you today with newly released research that is yet to be discussed and are considered in California policy regarding vaccination of children of school age. The research was released online on the website MedRxiv, which is a major pre-distribution site for the health science fields. Early release on this site means that peer review has yet to be done. The reason, however, for early release is to make the scientific community and the public aware of important findings produced by reputable scientists. In this case, the funding for the research came from a grant funded by the CDC. It appears that it was managed by the California Department of Health and included about 28 researchers, some of which appeared to be employed by UCSF, UC Berkeley, and other institutions in the Bay Area. The research was conducted on COVID patients in the San Francisco Bay Area. The name of the research is lengthy, so please excuse me as I state it. Predominance of antibody-resistant SARS-CoV-2 variants in vaccine breakthrough cases from the San Francisco Bay Area. There's a lot of detail in the study, but the key finding of interest to the board and the community is the following. The vaccinated population is more likely to contract COVID viral variants that now dominate the country than are the unvaccinated. So I'm going to repeat this because it's so important. The vaccinated are more likely to be infected by COVID variants than are the unvaccinated. This, frankly, when I follow the research on a regular basis, I did product development for 15 years, and I've always been interested in this sort of thing. This was frankly stunning to me, and I've just felt compelled as a citizen that I needed to come here and speak to this. So what does this mean to the student population and the community? In short, It means that by vaccinating children, if in fact this is true and peer-reviewed, who as a whole suffer very little from serious illness or death from the COVID, we increase the probability of the spread from the children to others who are vulnerable to the virus. This directly conflicts with the current mandate by the governor for the vaccines that are currently available. That's not to say that in the future there will be vaccines that wouldn't have this issue, but for the vaccines we have, that's the truth we know today. Suspicion that this was the case became evident with information from the most vaccinated country in the world, Israel. In or around July, it had the highest vaccination percentage in the world, but also the highest infection percentage. It is likely that this encouraged the research done in the Bay Area.
Okay, so you've reached your 3 minutes. So if you could wrap up shortly, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. I'll just go to the bottom line. Sorry,
That's okay.
I didn't realize it was that long. Putting this all together, the primary question becomes, why would we mass vaccinate children for a disease that causes minimal problems for the age group, while making them more likely to become spreaders of the COVID variants to others at school, in their homes, and in the community? Based on the latest information, it seems to make no sense, and also makes a case that by vaccinating children, we are potentially causing harm to them and to the community as a whole. It appears that there are major questions left to be answered.
Right.
So I'll just conclude with that and provide
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Cook. And if
I
you
encourage you all to read the whole document.
that'd be great. If you could leave that with Lupita, then we'd have the opportunity to look at the study also. And I know we did receive a couple of other public comments in advance of the meeting, and that we all read those prior to the meeting. So thank you for everyone's input, and thank you for taking your time to come here and speak to us. I appreciate it. Any other public comment?
No other public comments.
Thank you. Next, we get to hear from our Superintendent Chief Learning Officer with an update for the board.
Good evening, board and members of the community, and our folks listening out there and in media. I want to give you an update of what has been happening, the most important information, and I did it again. Okay, so we want to give you an update on the COVID testing at our school sites. We've really worked hard behind the scenes, and I have to commend Mr. Santos's department, the nurses, to be able to establish this. So really quickly, we're going to tell you where we're at with COVID testing. We don't have our Ride-Out Testing Center anymore. So what we've done is establish mini testing sites at each of our schools. So Mr. Santos, if you want to be able to provide an update for us.
Yep, thank you. So we are excited about this opportunity for testing throughout our district. Like Ms. Geisel shared, last year we had Ride-Out, which was a certified testing center ran by Public Health, which allowed us to actually have our students and staff go there. So now we are considered a district laboratory, if you will, where our many testing locations, which is actually every school site, are considered a lab where they can read the specimens. In order to go through that, there's substantial training that folks have to go through, as well as just sort of the whole process, including behind the scenes, the application piece, which we're now certified through the state. Just going through our list. Yes, there's a couple of bullets on the end that I would like to note out, sorry. Each site will have 2 testing leads, if not more, so they will actually be there. This is a antigen test, which means it is a rapid test. It is a nasal test. It's self-administered by our students. And for the record, there are no chemicals or anything on the swab. It is a sterile swab that students will use. So who's eligible for testing through TTUSD? The first thing I want to note is that we have limited supply of tests. As all of you in the community probably know, tests are very limited across the nation right now. So we were limiting to, one, our employees who are unvaccinated that are required by the state and by us to test weekly if they are not vaccinated. And the other is what we call modified quarantine. And we're excited about this, that this will allow students who are unvaccinated, who are close contacts of an individual at school, not at home, will be allowed to stay at school as long as they are tested twice in a 1-week period. They're asymptomatic. They wear a mask at all times. And I needed to stress this last one. They cannot participate in any extracurricular activities for the 10 days under this modified quarantine. They made it very clear, CDPH has, that there's no exception to the extracurricular rule, which I do understand can be a challenge, but unfortunately that's the rule that they've set and we're following and adhering to that rule. So who's not eligible for testing? If you folks have been asking, unvaccinated students who are a close contact of an individual at home. And the reason being is CDPH has made it clear that if you're a close contact of someone outside of the school environment, we have no control over what happens outside of our school environment. And most likely they're unmasked as well. So that's why CDPH is strictly sticking with the modified quarantine as in-school exposure. We're not going to be offering surveillance testing. That just means I just want to know if I have it or not on a regular basis. That's not something that we're in a position to do. At this time, we're not able to do student athletics, but with time, if we have extra tests, we will look at offering that, which they're required also to do. And then the last is any symptomatic student or staff member at school. And here's the reason for that. If they are symptomatic at school, they should not be at school. They need to be at home. The second piece is if they are symptomatic, if we give a test on our end, CDP says that they should follow up with a PCR test. So we're recommending that individuals who are symptomatic get a PCR test. We will take a home test, which is the same as an antigen, but we realize they're non-existent at the moment for those that are going to return when they're symptomatic on that front. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. And I'm sure you've heard about the governor's news conference that happened this past week. So we just wanted to provide an update regarding that. So as you know, Governor Newsom directed CDPH to add COVID-19 vaccine to the vaccinations requirements for in-person learning for our students. The vaccine requirements will apply to all students, and this is straight out of the CDPH guidelines, of a private or public school, elementary or secondary school. So what will happen, it'll happen in phases to have a smoother implementation. The first one being our grades 7 through 12, and then after that, grades K-6. So students will be required to be vaccinated for in-person attendance starting the term following the full FDA approval. So that could be either January or July, depending on when that happens. And as you can see, the timeline will be CDPH makes the rules, the processes. They'll inform the public school entities and private school entities in the state as to how this will roll out. The regulations will take effect at the end of the following term, meaning January 1, 2022 or July 1st, 2022, whichever comes first. And based on the current projections for full vaccine approval, ages 12 years, the state anticipates that it probably will happen in July 1 of 2022. So, for example, if you're younger than 12 but you're in 7th grade, you would wait until you turn 12 to get the vaccine. So this is what we're waiting to hear. Again, we don't have all of the details, and I'm sure as the year progresses, we will find out more, but we wanted to let our public know what we're waiting to hear about. And then also, the big one that the governor mentioned during his press conference was that the current verifier test requirement that we have now for K-12 staff will probably be converted to a vaccine mandate the same time the first phase comes through, which would be maybe July 1st, 2022. So we're waiting again to hear about directions and requirements, but we just wanted to inform our public, our TTUSD community of what is coming down the pike. And we're almost out of fire season, almost. And we wanted to just review the power outage safety shutdowns that have been happening. So Our energy providers are implementing the same wildfire safety shutdowns that, for example, PG&E has been doing in areas of the Bay Area and up this way. What will happen is it's called a de-energization or power safety outage management, PSOMs, and planned safety power shutoffs, PSPs. So the programs are similar to PG&E's, and what will happen is that in extreme fire risk conditions, high wind, dry conditions, they will call a PSOM or a PSP. We had sort of a, excuse the pun, fire drill a few weeks ago where we were informed that this was going to happen, and as weather conditions improved, the PSOM and PSPs were called off. The big issue is how long it takes to re-energize our transmission lines. So that's the big piece. It could last anywhere between 16 to 18 hours. So we've been notified that this will happen. And they've been really great about notifying us as a school district and as well as Tahoe Forest Hospital and letting us know that this would happen. To stay in constant in the know, we ask that you check our website, ttusd.org/power, for more detailed information on how this works. And also, it's very important that you stay prepared. If you haven't done so already, please sign up for the emergency services alerts that you can receive either through Placer County or through the town or Nevada County. And finally, my favorite part. This, later in the agenda, we have an acknowledgement of our board, from our board to our managers in our district. And I tried to come up with something clever about gratitude. And I think these words really, really signify what our managers do in our district, from our principals, our coordinators, our directors, our supervisors. They all have something to teach our students. They all have something to give to our students in their own wheelhouses. So if you would indulge me in just a moment to call out 35 names of people that really make a difference every single day in their work. And it's alphabetized by first name. Angie Morales-White, Alejo Padilla, Barbara Kane, Betsy Pillsbury, Chad Lindeen, Cindy Maciel, David Manahan, Ed Hilton, Gib Benton, Greg Woolman, Hean Larson, Jenny DeWald, Joanna Mitchell, John Newberger, George Rojas, Jeff Santos, Jen Scaff, Joan Zapatini, Kristen Fielding, Kirsten Kramer, Callum O'Hagan, Kat Saltamarad, Kelly Toomey, Logan Maloney, Nanette Rondow, Rachel Cuddle, Serge Balint, Sarah Colburn, Sarah DePrizio, Stephanie Focek, Susie Phoebus, Tara House, Tard Rivera, and Valerie Simpson. So I want to thank them all for all the work they do every single day. And that is my update.
And I'd add Carmen Geisels to that list, so thank you. And I just want to celebrate we're a month into the school year. Yahoo! And our kids are with us, so it's so exciting. Okay, I'm sorry, I lost my place. So we have some resolutions this evening. As Superintendent Geisels alluded to, we are being asked to approve a resolution which is for the week of the school administrator, which is next week.
Yes, it is. The second full week of October is designated as the week of the school administrator. Our TTUSD administrators play a crucial leadership and support role in providing quality education for our students and supporting our teachers and our classified employees. And we are very proud to be honoring them.
Thank you. Board questions? Public comment? Would someone like to move this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 6, the week of the school administrator.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And next, we have National Bullying Prevention Month.
Yes, Mr. Santos?
Yeah, excuse me, yes, so this, sorry about that. Caught me flat-footed there, so that's embarrassing. All right, so let's move on. National Bullying Month is for October, and as always, we like to recognize as a prevention month, this is something for the community that we do year-round. This is not a 1 month done. We continue this throughout the year. It is nice to recognize it for the month. Those that are listening, parents and students or staff, there's a couple of resources out there on our website. There is a We Tip line. If you're not comfortable talking with somebody, that is on every website of a school under the parent-student section. And I just want to remind our parents and families that we have counseling staff, our administrators, a trusted adult on campus are there to address any bullying issues that are going on, because this is definitely something that we take very serious. So thank you for recognizing.
Board questions? Public comment? Thank you for continuing to bring this to the forefront. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 7, October being National Bully Prevention Month.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And the ever scintillating GAN limit. Sorry, Todd.
Great. Thank you. So in 1979, the state passed what was called the GAN limit, which was supposed to be a control on government spending. And essentially how it works is all public agencies in California and the state of California have a state spending limit, which essentially is calculated based on the prior year revenues and some other factors, and then they apply an inflation factor to it, and a per capita or per student increases as well. So every year that's supposed to be our spending limit, so to speak. However, it doesn't work very well, and essentially a lot of times public agencies can go over what their calculated GAN limit is, which is the case for us. Last year, based on our increases in revenues and expenditures, our GAN limit actually was exceeded by about $414,000. And really, the only thing we have to do is pass a resolution that states that, and essentially our GAN limit will increase, and then we send something off to the state, and the state will adjust their GAN limit downward to account for it.
Board questions? Public comment? Thank you, Todd. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 8. Thank you, Todd.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I'm not used to only three of us. I'm
know,
not in the
it goes a lot
cadence.
quicker.
Consent agenda. Superintendent Geisels, would any staff member need to pull a consent item?
No, President Zurich.
Any board member?
No.
Would someone like to move the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next, we get to hear from our associations, and we're going to start with CSEA this evening.
I don't know why I sat in the back of the class. I don't normally do that. Good evening, everybody. It's Melissa as the CSEA chapter president. So for our update, it's not a lot, but it's something. We've had a really good start to the school year so far. Really busy, but good. Although we're in dire need of more aides and bus drivers, we're all putting the word out there. With that said, it's also opened up to a lot of questions in regards to signing bonuses. It's a conversation that we're all kind of having and trying to figure out both sides of it, trying to understand both sides of it. And we all understand that getting more employees and more staff in here will take off the workload of our amazing people who are here and who have been here for years. So it's an ongoing conversation that we're all trying to get. We're hopefully in the final stages of our MOU pertaining to COVID for this year. It's not a hard one. It's a super simple one. So we're going to get that finished up within the next couple weeks. Our executive board for CSEA here we're also, just FYI, we're doing a lot of amendments to our constitution and making some changes so we can get a little bit more people on our board, including a vice president, which would be really helpful. And we possibly a good communications person. So we're looking at doing that. We're also looking at putting some dates on the calendar for negotiations, which I'm happy to hear that the teachers are well underway with that. So that's really awesome. Other than that, that's kind of all we have so far for CSCA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And TTEA.
Of course, I have to follow a tall person. Hi, good evening. I'm Erin Lefevers. I am the secretary for TTEA. I'm also an English teacher at North High School, as well as an alum from North High School. I'm a mom to 2 Truckee grads, stepmom to 2 North Tahoe grads, and this year, a grandma to a new kindergartner at Tahoe Lake. So we are steeped in TTUSD. This weekend, the e-board had to draw straws on who was going to be the speaker. Partly because none of us like speaking in front of adults. We are more into our realm in front of students because we hold the element of the grade over them. However, you can see who drew the short straw. Mainly because I didn't have a child's birthday or a soccer game to coach or whatever, so I'm here. We know that there have been times, part of the time, the reason we also were a little hesitant is with the beginning of negotiations in the past, we've had been a little contentious at times to come in front of the board and being the only teacher representative at this in the room. But, however, I am so pleased to represent tonight because we are celebrating the return to being a unified district. Our district leadership and the school board have reached out and included educators in important decision-making that has started this summer. When we started having collaborative meetings, the tone of those meetings started to be collaborative and open, like I said. Negotiations have again returned to a joint effort to recognize the expertise of our educators and to utilize the fiscal strength of our community that our community brings to our schools, and the opportunities that you have provided all of our students. Speaking for the educators of our unit, we feel heard and recognized. We thank both the school board, TTUSD, leadership for listening and taking action with our concerns. Our educators greatly appreciate the morale boost these positive and productive negotiations have brought back. We are looking forward to directing all of our energies back to our classrooms and with our students. Thank you for making that possible for us.
Thank you, Erin. Was there a random noise that just happened? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to educational services. And the first discussion we're going to have and possible action is on our high school graduation requirements for community service hours. And I want to recognize our 3 wonderful high school principals who are here to help us through this issue. So thank you for being here, in addition to all the other work obligations you have. So thank you.
So on that note, Ms. Simpson, we're going to revisit this item regarding the community service hours that we brought back at a prior board meeting. And there was a question that was posed by the board that regarding the service hours, and we thought the most amazing experts in that field would be our 3 high school principals, Miss Logan Melanie, Mr. Greg Woolman, and the illustrious Miss Joanna Mitchell. So if you want to get started, Ms. Simpson?
Well, that was a great introduction,
thank you.
Superintendent Geisels. And so I know that there were some questions, and I'm super very appreciative of the principals being here because I know that they very thoughtfully came up with the proposal that you saw last board meeting, and they are here to answer any questions. I'm wondering if it would be helpful for them to start with how they landed on, like the reasoning why. That might be a good place to start, and then we can go with questions from that point. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that's
okay,
great.
Perfect. Okay.
Keep it fit. Either one. Oh, boy.
Get on up there, Ms. Woolman.
Is the
Dress-up
question,
day today.
is the question about why reduce it in general, or specifically why the numbers that we proposed?
Well, so
Or
I think
both.
if we can just start, so 6 or more years ago, this board put into policy the requirement for our high school kids to participate in the community with community service hours. And we felt that was very important for our kids to be part of the community and to learn to give back to their community. And the requirement at that time was 30 hours during the high school career. It could be done at any point. Some kids waited till the last minute and did 30 hours, and some spread it out amongst the 4 years. Last year, you all came to us and said, we can't do it this year because there's no place to volunteer. And so we allowed last year's graduates to graduate with whatever they had. And so now you're coming to us with another modified proposal, recognizing that I believe there's still some impediments for kids to volunteer. So we're just looking for your thoughts on the schedule that you came up with, which was for this class graduating, we'll continue to waive it. And then at least 8 hours for the following class, and then it goes up 8 hours per year, back up to the 30 hours. So we were hoping to hear
Sure.
your thoughts on that, and then we'll talk about the board's willingness to modify the requirements.
Sure, and I heard your questions 2 weeks ago, and I think the first piece, we have two main pieces that came up in our discussion. The first one is in the board policy. There is a set number of hours by grade level, just as an idea, because when we first had students come in, they were coming in at all different grade levels, right? So we had to start somewhere. We also have a lot of students who transfer in, maybe at their 11th or 12th grade year. So we couldn't say, hey, you also have to do 30 hours as a junior. So they would have 8 hours their junior year, 8 hours their senior year. So we took those numbers in the board policy to help us decide how many hours they should do right now, as it's more of a struggle to find community service. So we landed from the last 2 years at 0 this year because they would have had to do 8 more years as seniors. 8 more hours. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yes. 8 more hours. Thank you. 8 more hours as a senior, 16 as a junior, etc. So that's kind of how we got the numbers.
And then if someone did wait to do their community service, they would technically then have to do potentially even more than the 8 for just this year. And at North Tahoe, we actually tie the community service yearly to our Pathways class. And we haven't had Pathways for the past couple of years. We have it this year, and we just felt like while most students would be able to, or families would be comfortable with students going out into the community, we didn't feel like it was okay to require students to put themselves in contact with other people outside of the classroom, if they weren't comfortable with that, and knowing that there were just fewer opportunities in general for them to volunteer. So that was just our thought process of not really wanting to especially put graduation status on something that is so difficult still. We have a lot of students who are doing community service regardless of whether it is required, and they're doing it for applications and whatnot. It was just the tracking the graduation requirement that we suggested, waiving for another year.
And that's what I was going to say, is our students are still doing community service hours for the community that are willing to and able to have them right now. And so we're still pushing out, if somebody comes to the high school and says, hey, we need some community service, we still push that out to students to see if they're interested as well. It's really just the requirement piece.
Thank you. So, board questions. Chris, do you have questions?
Mr. Woolman, do you have anything
Can-
you want to share?
do you have anything you want to share about how your high school is dealing with community service, or if at all this year?
No,
Like these two other high schools did?
it's the same. Some of our students have already completed their hours. Some students are looking into doing it on their own. Some students have it within their, I guess, their family pattern, that it's something that they've been doing since their children were little. So I think the big part for me is just not having it as a district policy to make people go into the community outside of our COVID protocols. That makes me nervous. So that's my recommendation to you, that, I guess that's my thoughts on that, that we can control it within the school and we have our protocols, but we don't know what protocol they're walking into, that we have no control over. So to have that mandate out there to go and do that makes me nervous.
Yeah, so my question, and I'm sorry, I was actually listening, but on my email and on my phone, I can't find this. Trustee Larson and I had a conversation via email, just because I wanted to understand our policy better and kind of how I interpreted it at the last board meeting when it came up on our consent agenda. And I can't find it, but that's okay, because I know what I wrote, and I remember the questions that he was asking me to exercise my brain. You guys know that's how he communicates, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, so I guess for me it was like, why were we wanting to exempt 8 hours? I mean, the students are out and about, they're playing sports, they're working, they're showing up at school, they're hanging out. So I just was concerned, because I feel like that's a good bar to have. I'm glad that our district has that request or mandate or requirement of them. And I feel like 8 hours is absolutely doable. And as you're sharing, a lot of the students already are doing it anyway. So I was just like, why are we lowering that bar? And I'm feeling a little guilty. I will say that it was brought forth to have the three of you here during your off time in the evening, so I'm really sorry about that. But that was my question, like, why? It's 8 hours. Kids are living life. So I went into our TTUSD site and looked at the list of approved or participating places where they could serve. It's huge. And a lot of those people are letting volunteers in, and they are letting, people come in and help them. So I was just, why are we lowering that bar? It's only 8 hours. That was really what I was asking at the last board meeting.
So do you feel like you got an answer to that question based on the?
I do.
It's a graduation requirement.
Yeah, I understand yes, but I still feel like it should be fine to have them do it.
And we definitely value community service and that requirement. We are by no means saying that it shouldn't be a graduation requirement. We are simply suggesting that COVID is really giving some obstacles that, I think there's like three main reasons that we feel not comfortable requiring that for graduation just this year, or until we're more cleared for COVID. Masks are really, compliance outside of school is very different throughout the community. And just, we would have no control over ensuring that their community service was done in a safe fashion.
Right, but that's kind of a family thing, right? Like, hey, Mom, I need 8 hours. All right, let's look at these options. Let's vet them so we can meet our responsibility.
Dee Dee?
The only thing I was going to say is that I totally appreciate you guys coming in. I totally apologize that you're here too, but I do appreciate the fact that I think for me, it was more of a board policy discussion in terms of if something gets changed without having a board policy gets changed. And I think part of it was we didn't get any of it, and all of a sudden it was on the consent agenda and there was no discussion prior. And I think that, to me, was the only thing that I was even concerned. I mean, I appreciate you being here, but I think for me, it was on the consent agenda, and it was a big deal, and something that we all know as a board member, I feel community service, and I think Chris obviously does too, is that it went, and I think that was just it may have just been a internal organizational thing on our part where it got on the consent, and I don't think that we were comfortable with it.
So do you have any other questions?
In terms of no, I have no questions on what you are saying.
I know Mr. Wallman wanted to say something.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I went through the same thinking process that you did, Board Member Hennessy, and I battled with that back and forth, but I still landed in a place where I still can't dictate how it's done out there, and then it's a requirement from the district. I agree it could be done, but when we get in the could and shoulds, then it starts to make me feel uncomfortable that if it's happening within my school, then I can manage it. But anything that's out there, and when you mentioned the sports, that's where I went to too. Like, well, students are doing this, and we know that some students are not making the greatest choices, but that is their choice. It's their choice to be in a sports team. It's their choice, whereas we're not making them join a sport.
Right.
So that's where I battled with it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I respect the thought process. You know, I will say I disagree with it, but that's not my, but yeah, thank you for coming out and sharing what your thought process was and where you landed.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, bringing it back for board deliberation. So we can make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation. I mean,
Well, I'm not going to question the staff. I mean, I got their answer, so I will support it.
okay. So would someone like to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the 13.1 high school graduation requirements for community service. Because it,
And I guess I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you guys for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Great to see you.
Appreciate
Part
it.
of the reason was we just wanted to see you.
Yes.
So excited. Thank you.
We'll think of some other reason next month.
So excited.
Next, we have 3 items related to our adult education program, and I want to acknowledge an amazing adult educator here in Heather Sullivan and Todd Wald. So thank you for being here, both of you, and Superintendent Geisels.
Yes, thank you, Todd and Ms. Sullivan, for being here. It's nice to see you both. Ms. Simpson, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yes.
Thanks, you
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I too am glad that we have 2 of our adult educators here, and they wear multiple hats. And so thank you for being here. And this is these next 3 items, 13.2, 13.3, and 13.4, are a result of our federal program monitoring that we're involved in right now as a school district. And this is actually a silver lining out of that. So through this process, this is actually the first time that our adult education program has been reviewed, because it hasn't been in existence prior to the last time we were going through federal program monitoring. And we found out that the board gets to review and approve all the adult ed courses. So that silver lining is that these 2 great educators are here, and that you have an opportunity to see the type of courses that we are providing for our adults in the community, which is amazing. And we continue to increase our enrollment despite COVID, which is even more amazing. So the first one here has to do with our general education development prep course, which is the GED. And I will take, I guess, one item as it goes. So that would be the first item up.
So just to clarify, because I was confused when I went through this and actually asked some questions in that, we are currently doing this class.
Correct.
And this is formalizing that we're doing this class because the board, it had actually never come to the board, like our other
Correct.
curriculum comes
Yes.
to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Courses, just like we bring high school courses, we are now going to be bringing adult education courses.
Great.
With the similar, you see the similar template, that's similar to the high school course, and
And then generally we'll get like a textbook or some other type of materials that go.
Well, yes, we could definitely provide that.
I'm not saying I have to read another textbook, but I was just curious.
Absolutely. Well, and it's a little bit different because with our high school courses, we are looking at that, usually around that same time, we're going through a pilot adoption process and we don't do that for adult education. However, it is something that we definitely could provide as we're bringing courses, and we could make some of these materials available for you to look through too, because it's kind of exciting, the classes that we have going on.
Yeah, I mean, you could use this for advertising. at board
Absolutely.
meetings, so,
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, terrific. Those were my questions. Ladies? Okay. So then would someone like to move approval of the General Ed Development Program course?
I apologize. My only question was, I apologize, I couldn't get it fast enough. The number, you said that our enrollment is increasing, like what, just a ballpark number? Like 20%,
I don't have that number right in
10%?
front of me, but I bet one of these
Okay, just
people
a minute.
here in front of me is going to,
Yeah, I would say
you can,
each class, the two GED classes have between they have probably 18 and.
Heather, I'm sorry, but can you come up here so everybody can hear you? Sorry.
My teacher projection voice.
Everybody at home watching on TV.
Great. Each of our GED prep classes has about 18 or so enrolled, but I would say on average, we have 8 to.
Heather, can you press the button that's right on make it, that's okay, no worries.
it says push.
There you go.
Is that better?
Perfect.
There we go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I am Heather O'Sullivan. I am a teacher in the adult education program. I teach the ESL classes, and then I'm the lead ESL and GED teacher. So I kind of support all of our teachers in the adult ed world. Right now, we have 2 GED classes. The one taught by Sarah Adams, which is done, she teaches all 4 subjects in both languages, because you can take the GED test in Spanish or English. And so she's doing all 4 in both languages. And then we have a new teacher, awesome teacher, April Merzak, who is teaching math, because we found that was the test that everybody was either not passing on the first time, most nervous about, or dropping out of the program because they were afraid of that test. So we brought in someone who's just going to do math and science with them, because there's a math test, a science test, social studies test, and a language arts test.
And then Dee Dee's question in regards to how many more students do you think we have now?
I believe in the last, obviously last year kind of our numbers went down, but then they started growing. I think as people either had more time or they were needing it as a requirement for either their employment or immigration status or things like that, they began to come out and, or they just had a lot of time. They began to take advantage of that and then found that they could do it.
and we have in our GED preparation class, which is the item right now, 18 adults enrolled in that right now. And, well, the other courses, I'll just tell you right now, ESL, our English as a second language, 44 students.
Yeah, see, those are numbers that are.
44 over all 4 classes. That's Millie Carreño, the administrative assistant, put this data together. And then we have the class, the CTE NCCER, which Todd Wold will speak to. There's 12 students that started in that class, and there's been a little bit of an up and down, but it's coming back up. So.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
With that,
Can I address?
oh, yes.
Your question, Dee Dee? The numbers in the beginning of 2020 about doubled.
Okay.
And if I can explain a little bit why, if that's okay. One of the things Heather spoke to was there was a change in the DACA situation to where if students were to get their high school diploma, they would be able to qualify for DACA. And so we started getting some referrals from some of our community organizations for certain students that were going to need their GED. We also looked at the data of who was immediately laid off when COVID hit. And there's a story out there, you can Google it, it's called From Coal to Coders, where they looked at the skill sets of coal miners that were laid off in the Northeast and identified a career area where they could use those same skill sets. And they figured out that coding would actually work well. So we kind of took that same approach and looked at, okay, who's getting laid off right now in COVID, and what are the needs of our community? Who are the essential workers in the community that are still working, and how can we help move people toward that? So both of those were huge contributors to the increases. The enrollment, which is a little different than the actual attendees, was more than double, though, in the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then I think what I like what you heard was that what is best for our community in terms of like what kind of skill set do we need and how do we keep the people that are in our community working? And I think that's something that when we talk about what adult ed does, those are things that are important. And I just thank you for clarifying how you got them, because I think that was one of the ones I was asking. I'm like, are we finding the people that are unemployed or laid off, whatever, and giving them jobs? So thank you for that. And if there's nothing else, I will make a motion to approve 13.2.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then 13.3 is the ESL class.
And this is our adult education non-credit English as a second language course that we offer, and we have 4 different classes, I believe, going at this time, both on the Kings Beach side and the Truckee side. And so we're asking for any questions that you might have on that, and approval, hopefully.
Thank you. Questions, ladies? No? Just appreciating that our ESL efforts with our adults, very much so. Dee Dee?
I will wait for your call.
Do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve 13.3.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'd like to point out, we do have one leader from our TTEA group, but we have no public here, so that's why I'm not actively asking. Dave will yell at me if he needs to say something, but that's why I'm not asking every time. And then 13.4, which is our CTE class.
Yes. And there's actually 2 courses in this item. One is the NCCER Core, which stands for National Center for Construction Education and Research. So that is something that Todd Wold has been actively teaching, because he is a certified instructor, which is very exciting. And the second course with this is actually an English as a second language for this course. So it's, I'm going to say, the academic vocabulary, the academic language that goes along with this course.
Wonderful. And a needed industry here in our community, as you pointed out. Thank you. Questions?
When I was reading these, Todd, I was like, I need to make sure he hears me. When they graduate, send them my way. Please.
And
We
speaking
need
of
employees.
there you go. And speaking of graduation, I'm so glad we're going to coordinate adult ed graduation with the others this coming year, so that we make it as much of a celebration as the rest of our graduations.
And Chris, thank you for asking that. I was going to ask Todd, in terms of how you guys are doing that, are we, in terms of this construction, are we working with some of our construction companies? And are we sort of feeding any of our local companies that need them? And I know that it's hard to know that, but I just was wondering if you're working with any of our construction people.
Yeah, this conversation started well before COVID happened. We started working with the Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe and their executive director, Kelly Cutler. In that, we looked at the labor market data for our region, the greater Sacramento region, which we're a part of, and then specifically to the zip codes on the eastern side of the counties. With that, food service, hospitality, healthcare, and construction are the top 3 labor market needs in our community. Then we had to look at what could we offer, what do we have the facilities for, what do we have the certified teachers for. We actually did try to start a NCCER class a couple years ago with one of the members of CAT, the Contractors Association of Tahoe Truckee, and it was a flop. We couldn't get any students to register. It was really a challenge. So in a sense, COVID kind of gave us the timing and the need from the workers' standpoint. That particular industry, whether we're talking about the town of Truckee or our local HVAC experts, they're used to training their own. And they very much had to do even more of that, while at the same time saying we're too busy because we don't have any help. One of the things that was a benefit of COVID, there's 2 national curriculum for training in the trades, and NCCER is one of them. The training is usually at Fresno State. And so getting a local industry expert to go to Fresno State for several days and undergo the certification process. Certification to teach the curriculum is one of the certifications. Certification to proctor the written summative assessments, which is done digitally on computer, but it's still summative assessment, is another training they have to go through. And then the performance piece, where they actually have to perform on-the-job skills, is another piece that they have to become a certified performance evaluator. We were having trouble getting anybody that could do that. Thanks to COVID, for the first time ever, NCCER offered an online grant-funded free training. And since I have my CTE certificate and I couldn't find anybody else to teach it, I just attended the training. And I got certified in all 3 of those. With that, we knew that we were going to need to support our Spanish-speaking population. Our original registration for the class, there was 1 Russian speaker. There was 2 Caucasians that were native English speakers. There was 10 Latinos. 1 of them was a native English speaker. The others, 9 were not. On the first day of class, only 1 of the Caucasian students showed up, adults, and the other 10 Latin students all showed up. And that's and we're all Latin now. 9 of the 10 that are consistently attending are native Spanish speakers. And so the NCCER class, being taught by Erica Sonnenberg, who's one of our teachers in our district at the middle school, has agreed to take that on. And she front loads the vocabulary, the content-specific terms for that.
So how do you say pivot in Spanish? No, that's awesome. I mean, that's our word for the year. I mean, that's just what it is. So thank you very much.
Impressive. Would someone like to make a motion on this class?
I will thank you for all of that information, and I'll make a motion to approve 13.4, the adult ed CTE classes.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'd just like to say, this is just yet another reason I'm so proud of our school district. You guys do fabulous work. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your support. It's super important to us.
Let's go top to bottom.
Thanks for spending some of your evening with
What's
us.
the word for pivot in Spanish?
Lupita.
Pivot.
Pivot?
Can't hear you.
Apalancar.
Say that again. Yeah, I'm just gonna, that's good. I have no ear for language.
It's hard. Yeah, no mouth. Visual.
Specialized vocabulary.
How do you say spin? All right,
Okay,
thank you
all right.
guys very much. Okay.
So we're going to move on to approving a job description for a health aide, Superintendent Geisels.
Yes, Yes, I have Ms. Jones Apatini who's going to talk about the job description for our health aide position.
So this is actually an update of a job description. We've had this position before in the district. The last time it was filled was back in 2010, 2011. In HR world, anytime that we are going to revisit a job description that isn't currently filled, we try to update it to, sometimes it's like we don't use typewriters anymore, we use computers. So this is just bringing it forward, updating it, so that we can post the position and get some much needed support for our nurses in the district.
Questions? Public comment, there is none. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 14.1.
I'll gladly second it.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, let's get him hired for Mr. Santos and his amazing staff. Okay, you guys don't have to stay. Don't ever feel embarrassed to leave. I would. Next, we're moving on to facilities. And this is, first is approving a consultant amendment with Keenan and Associates. Superintendent Geisels.
Mr. Rivera is going to talk us through this one and the next two.
Yeah, the first two are similar, right? Just two different
Yes.
facilities.
Yes. Thank you. So with two of our projects through our facilities program, the Tahoe Lake Elementary School reconstruction project and also increment 1 of Truckee High School, the district had elected to go through what's called an owner-controlled insurance program, which means that basically all the contractors working under those projects would be covered for builder's risk, construction liability, and also workers' compensation. And essentially, it's kind of a one-stop shop that covers, it's an umbrella coverage for the project during construction. And there is a percentage fee based on construction value. And now that we've wrapped up those two projects, Tahoe Lake and Truckee High School Increment 1, there's a true-up process. Originally, they gave us an insurance cost estimate based on the original construction value, but as things progressed and there was change orders and changes made and increases to the construction cost, they have to account for that on the overall fee for this owner-controlled insurance program, which is called State Educational Wrap-Up Program. So this is kind of the last leg, the true-up of the cost with the final construction value applied to the specific insurance rates. So for Truckee High School Increment 1, the additional cost would be $60,386, and for Tahoe Lake, the additional cost is $290,442.
Thank you, Todd. Questions from the board? Would someone like to move 15.1?
I'll make a motion to approve 15.1.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And 15.2? Would you like to move
I'll make a motion
15.2?
to approve 15.2. Oh, wait, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve 15.2.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And the third item under facilities is an architectural services pool.
Thank you. So anytime a school district goes out for architects or engineers, they really should go through some form of qualitative selection process. And generally, most of the time, which is in this case, we went out for a request for qualifications to various architectural firms. We posted something, and any architect that was interested could send in a qualifications proposal, which highlighted their experience along with some of our particular questions answered that we wanted to see, what their qualifications were. And we actually got a really good response. We had about 14 architects submit a request for qualifications to us. And then we went through kind of a weeding process to see who met kind of a minimum qualitative score for us to bring them into an interview. And this is what we're sharing with you tonight is those architects that qualified for beat the score and went through the interview process and were selected by the district to be part of our pool of architects. And this is the reason why we did this, and we did this when we first went through our facilities program many years ago. However, it's time to update that and get a new pool and we can utilize these architects for any projects that are coming up in the future. Particularly right now, we're looking at architects to help us with renovating the old pool building at Truckee High School and converting that to an indoor field space. And then also looking at planning for North Tahoe Middle School, High School, which is part of our original facilities program. But there'll be other smaller projects as we progress. And then hopefully maybe somewhere down the road, we'll have some larger projects that these architects can participate in as well.
Questions? Would someone like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve 15.3.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm excited for those two projects you mentioned, Todd. Those will both be great final additions to our plan that we started on 10 years ago, so thank you. Okay, we had only one board policy. I didn't see any homework questions. Is it okay with the board to move that to consent for our next? Great. And then comments. Chris, you want to start us off?
Let's see, what do I have? Well, so Jeff, you mentioned that October is Bullying Awareness Month. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, prevention month, but yeah.
Prevention, yes, thank you. So a cause dear to my heart also is observed in October. I just wanted to remind everyone that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that the Sierra Community House, Tahoe Safe Alliance are available for anyone and everyone, any gender, either gender, however you say that, if anybody needs them. And let's see, I went to the North Tahoe School back to school night, which was really cool. They had a lot of local community service providers there. The Boys and Girls Club was there, Young Life, Sierra Community House was there. Yeah, I thought it was very cool. Got to meet some new parents that I'd not met, and some teachers as well. And I joined all of you at the Truckee Chamber Annual Award Dinner, or celebration was my first out of all the years serving on this board, so it was very cool. And also got to meet some really neat people, and some local business owners that do work with our students, primarily Truckee side, because it was a Truckee Chamber event, but where kids are doing hours there, and they were open to just, you know, having a discussion about possibly joining forces with some other local trades and vocational businesses to up the little scholarship that's floating around. So they will be reached out to, see if they can help our kids that are interested in vocational or trade schools. So that was exciting. It's all about the schmoozing, as I say in my house. Anyway, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's great. Thank you.
I have not done much. I did go to the open house as well. I did the same thing Chris did in terms of activities. And, yep.
Great, thanks. I also, Chamber, I did the Donner Trail and Truckee High back to school nights. Those are the only ones I think I was in town for, so, and it was great. First time so for 12 years I was a parent at Truckee High, and I'm not a parent there anymore. So Logan's grateful, and yeah, and I'm like, I don't know as many parents anymore. It's kind of weird, but it was fun. So yeah, and the building is amazing. I'm very much looking forward to our tours. So thank you. Okay, we will adjourn this regular meeting, and then I will call to order the special meeting of the Tahoe Truckee Unified School Board. We will waive the pledge, etc. And I'm wondering if we have any public comment at the special meeting for anything not on the agenda.
There's no public comment.
Thank you. So this, we're going to talk about negotiations this evening. This is what we call our sunshine discussion. So we have two information items. One is the consideration of public notice that the TTEA, or the Tahoe Truckee Education Association's initial proposal to the
President, sorry, can we approve the agenda?
Oh, approval of the agenda. Thank you. Someone want to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the special meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thanks for keeping me in line. Okay, so TTA's proposal to the district is the first item.
Yes, item 5.1. Ms. Sabatini, would you like to speak about this item?
Yeah, so in the Sunshine article for TTUSD to TTA, we opened 3 different articles we're asking, which is Article 4, Article 12, and Article 13.
The first one
First one
is
is
TTE.
TTE.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I apologize on that. So for that, TTEA proposed their Sunshine articles to be opening Article 12 and Article 13. 12 is benefits and 13 is wages.
Great, thank you. Okay, now,
Now, TTUSD, our Sunshine articles were Article 4, hours of employment, Article 12, benefits, and Article 13, wages.
great, thank you. Any questions on either of those for Ms. Sabatini? I'm biting my tongue not to make my irony comment that we approve what the TTA wants to talk about, right? Okay, so now I'm going to hold a public hearing, and I will officially open the public hearing if anyone would like to make comments on this. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And now we move to where the board approves the sunshines, this is the irony part, for this year. And that will allow us to move through the negotiation process. So would someone like to approve the sunshine articles from both entities?
I will make a motion to approve 7.1.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful, and we look forward to really successful negotiations, so thank you.
All right.
And we will adjourn. Did I do okay? Am I okay? Okay, thank you.